I'm Patricia McRae, and I'm the President and General Manager for KHQ Television. I went to Logan Elementary, and I went to Shaw Middle School and Rogers High School, and I graduated in 1978. Education in general is the foundation, I think, to what anybody, your future for anything that you do. And I had a great time in school. I loved school. I loved my teachers. It was a motivating experience for me that motivated me to move forward. I had a teacher in 4th grade. Her name was Mrs. Smith, and she was one of those teachers that took you under her wing and really cared about you and was compassionate. And there was one time, and 4th grade, I'm trying to recall how it all happened. I don't remember, but something happened on the playground, and I went in, and we were in a portable at the time, and we went into the portable, and I was crying, and Mrs. Smith came up, and she took my hand, and she was sympathetic and told me everything was going to be okay, and there was a connection with that sympathy and that affection. And in today's world, you hope that never gets lost because of where we are in today's world with technology and litigation and everything that happens. That was a moment that I will never forget, and that was a connection with that teacher. And from that point on, I felt like I could go to her, and not just for education, but for personal problems, if something happened at home. And I just really believe that type of a connection is so valuable in today's world between students and teachers. And then I would say in high school, at Rogers, the teacher that really was the standout teacher for me, and the teacher that really helped shape what I wanted to do in the future, his name was Mr. Swisher, and he was a journalism teacher and yearbook teacher and English. And he was probably just the opposite from Mrs. Smith in the sense that he was one of those teachers that was kind of gruff and sarcastic, but you knew that he cared. And in his own way, he would share stories with you that motivated you. And because of him, I took the path of journalism. And, so to say that teachers don't make a difference in someone's life is absolutely wrong, because they make all the difference. I think your foundation starts at home with your parents. And I was very lucky because I grew up in what I call a Leave It to Beaver kind of family, with the white picket fence, and not a probably lower income family than not, but a very stable household. My father worked. He was a manager at Boise Cascade. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and I had 3 other brothers and sisters, and we had a very stable, happy childhood, very normal. So the foundation started there, but it continued on at school. And I don't think if you have that balance, then something is out of whack. I have to give teachers the credit for recognizing when the balance is off. They take it personally, and you can see that in most teachers. So, kids need to trust their teachers. They need to trust their teachers, and they need to know that their teachers really can help guide them wherever they want to go in their life. In journalism, Mr. Swisher, he was the one that set me on the road to journalism. And I often wonder about him today, and I often think I would love to go back and tell him that he made that difference in my life. And what I'm doing, I work at KHQ, and my first 14 years at KHQ was in journalism. And to know that there was a teacher here in Spokane that helped shape somebody, I think that's kind of cool. And then I moved into the business side of broadcasting, but the background and my foundation of journalism is what helped me get me to where I am as a general manager. And I think being active is the key to success, and I believe that today too. I was in cheerleading, and I was in music and sports. I did all sports, and staying busy, that helps you become a good multitasker. And I see that in my own daughter, who is a junior today, She is extremely busy in school, but the busier she is, the better she is with studying habits, because she has to become organized. And I think that in being involved, and not just from an organizational task, but from getting to know other students and being accepted in other groups, and just not having one friend over here, but really experiencing the different cultures that a school environment has to offer, whether it's DECA or music or sports or the chess club, ASB, and I was in all of those minus the chess club. So yeah, being active and involved is probably 50% of your education. It's the social part of your education that develops you and helps you, with all kinds of skills as you move on in life. I went to Washington State. I'm a Cougar. And college was a great experience as well. I started and got into the journalism program there and graduated from the Edward R. Murrow Communications College of Communications now, I believe, it's actual college now. It wasn't when I went there. And again, I got involved within my career early on, even though I was still a student, by working at the newspaper and the TV station and the radio station and public television down there, KWSU, yes. So again, I was very involved right from the beginning. And then after I graduated, I went to work, and I just have never looked back. I've been in the working world now for almost 25 years. My career path took me kind of all over the place. It's kind of funny, I never ever wanted to return to Spokane. I left WSU, and in my rearview mirror, there was Spokane, and I wasn't looking back. I went to Bakersfield, was my first job in TV, and then I went to Reno. Then I went to San Jose, then I went to San Francisco, then I went back to Reno, and then I went to Miami, and then I went back to Reno. And the reason I kept going back to Reno is I finally married him. So it was a good reason. But so I kind of went all over the place. You are, in TV news, you're kind of a gypsy. And I was single, and I waited to get married. I didn't get married until I was in my 30s, and I didn't have my first and only child until I was in my late 30s. So I kind of waited for the family part of it to, I guess, do my career thing. But it was great. And then one day I was back in Reno. I'd just gotten married, and I was kind of trying to decide what's the next move, and my husband and I were like, are we going to stay in Reno? And I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't mind staying in Reno. And so I get this call from who was a current general manager at KHQ, Lon Lee at the time, and he said, hi, I'm Lon Lee, and I'm from KHQ in Spokane. He goes, I'd love to talk with you. And I said, oh, Spokane's my hometown, and I'm never coming back. Thank you very much for the call. Goodbye. I was like, I don't even want to talk to him. I didn't want to move back to Spokane. And so he was like, hey, wait a minute, wait a minute. And so then he convinced me to come up for an interview, and I thought, okay, free ticket home. I can see mom and dad. So I said, okay, I'll come up, I'll take the free ticket. And that was 19 years ago. And it was like, I came up, and we were in the ESD 101 building, and I walked in that TV station, and everything was so old, and I was looking around, and I was thinking, you know what, this could be a real challenge. The equipment is old, and they're trying to change staffing and image, and I thought, this could be fun. And my husband, who is from California, said, no way, I'm not moving to Washington State. Well, the funny thing is, he moves up here. A year after he's here, we have our first and only child, and he's never looked back either. He's like, this is the best place to be to raise a child. And so, yeah, I just never thought I would be back. And now I look at Spokane and how it's changed, and some of the fabulous leadership that we have in the business world in Spokane. And it's an awesome place. It's an awesome place to raise a family, do business. And, I have to give a shout out to Spokane Public Schools, because I just can't imagine my daughter being raised in another city, even especially a bigger city, and going through a public school system. I have never for a moment hesitated to keep her in public schools here. It's probably one of the best school districts around. And like I said, I've been all over the country, and what she's getting right now is everything and more that I got. And she's going to be one of those people that will be sitting here 20 years from now talking about how great Ferris is and the Spokane public schools are. So what we have here is something pretty dang special.